Is that a leopard? There is a leg hanging to a leopard on the After a very pleasant 3-night stay at Samburu Samburu Lodge, we then journeyed south across the Ewaso Ngiro River to the Ashnil Samburu camp in Buffalo Springs Nature Reserve. On our way to the camp, we found this fantastic female leopard. We've been looking for leopards the whole trip, and finally at midday, we saw this leopard lying in a tree with a kill nearby. It looked like an impala. Ashnil Samburu camp is on the southern bank of the Ewaso Ngiro River. The food and accommodation was excellent, and we really enjoyed our stay in the pleasant surroundings. The only downside, it was a little bit hot in the middle of the day in the tented rooms. They did, however, keep the generator on for the fan, which at least got rid of some of the heat. One thing to point out is that Ashnil Samburu, even though it says Samburu, is in a different reserve and is in the Isiola County. They're both in the Samburu province, but in different counties. So from a financial and management viewpoint, they are managed as separate reserves. So if you want to cross the bridge from Samburu to Buffalo Springs or vice versa, you have to pay the daily fee from both sides. There were vervet monkeys and odd baboons in the camps, but they're not a problem, as they usually have 1 or 2 people with catapults patrolling there. The monkeys and the baboons seem to understand this arrangement, and as long as they don't cause trouble, they're allowed to forage there, which they seem to do quite happily. We came across this lioness lying on a log quite close to a crossing point where we crossed the river. She'd been lying there for a while, sort of dozing and watching around. Then suddenly she noticed some warthogs we had passed going towards her, moving off towards the river for a drink. Once they'd sort of moved into the bush, she then proceeded to follow them. Unfortunately, we couldn't see what happened, but there was a loud squealing in the distance, and we went to look, but we couldn't find her or the pigs again. next evening, we found the leopard lying in the tree, and while we were sitting waiting and watching, we noticed a striped hyena that was wandering around, obviously trying to get some scraps. A little while later, we heard elephants trumpeting nearby. We left her and went down to go and see what was the cause of the commotion. They were obviously very upset about something and were crashing around the bushes. A little while later, after we had left them, they'd settled down, we found out what the reason for their anxiety was. This was probably who was causing the elephants such anxiety. We also went and had a quick look at the Buffalo Springs, which is what the reserve gets its name from. It's quite amazing. It's a spring that flows out of the ground, and somebody had built this little rock pool around, obviously to enjoy the pool, and then it flows into a marsh area where we saw some good bird life like crowned cranes. The bird life in Buffalo Springs is excellent and as good as we saw in the Samburu side. This time of the year, there were plenty of baby birds around and predatory birds as well, such as eagles and falcons. We're all looking for something to eat and to feed their youngsters. This young battalier was just about to fledge and kept calling to the parents nearby for them to bring food. Little pearl-spotted owlet that lived in the camp swooped down one day onto the lawn and grabbed something. Afterwards, I realized it was a mouse. There were several mice that used to forage in the grass, and this little owlet was catching them. Elephants and larger animals could cross the river at will, and we frequently saw elephants moving backwards and forwards across the river. This redneck falcon was a really highlight of my trip, as one doesn't often see them. lioness was a different lioness to the one we'd seen the first evening, and she was also on a log on the eastern side of the reserve. They must use the logs to get some height so they could see further over the grass. At one stage she was quite interested in some gazelle further down, and then eventually she lay down and ignored them. We stayed and watched for quite a while, but she lost interest, so we left her in peace. This pair of juvenile long-crested eagles kept on shouting for food. The chatterer is quite an unusual name for what I usually know as a babbler. This African hawk eagle was looking for something, and we then noticed this hare lying nearby quietly. There are several species of bustards or karans, which is what the smaller bustards are known as, and one can see them in the reserve. We didn't see many snakes except this puff adder, but there were quite a few snake eagles around, and obviously secretary birds which hunt snakes. It was also a highlight to see this lanner falcon perched high on a tree. Samburu and Buffalo Springs are not as busy as the southern reserves in Kenya, and you won't regret if you have a safari in this memorable place. Thanks for watching.